We are Chris and Bex, the nomadic crowbot, and we purchased this dud narrowboat roughly 3.5 years ago, and it's turned into a complete restoration project after not getting a survey. Anyway, fast forward a long time, and we've just decided, you know what, we're going to just try and see how far cruising we can get on the setup that we've currently got on the narrowboat. The two main key problems are the batteries on the narrowboat, but if we keep cruising, they should charge and we should be alright for a little bit. Next up, a pretty big one, we can't really have showers on the narrowboat, so in the last episode you may have seen us with our portable off-grid shower setup. In the last episode you may have also witnessed us encountering our first problems with the narrowboat's engine. Something that we really didn't think we'd have to contend with on this trip. And if that's not enough to contend with, there's some huge flooding coming over from Burst Bankage in Bedfordshire that's going to keep us stranded for a very long time. Welcome to Crowbot as a cruising narrowboat channel. So we're travelling up from St Neots. We're stuck here now at Houghton on this lovely little island. Yeah, there is absolutely no way off of it. We've got our engine blaring to keep those batteries topped up, and mainly to keep Becca's lovely little turkey steaks frozen in the freezer.
Delicious, succulent, sweet curd turkey. They're really tasty and tender.
So we've just woken up with absolutely no juice in our batteries. As a lot of you know, our batteries are absolutely buggered. We knew there'd be a problem with them and that we would probably have to put the engine on ever so often. The whole idea of this trip is to see if we could potentially live off-grid in these nightmare circumstances. It's meant to rain all day today, so we thought it was going to be a bit of a boat bed day, but the weather's sort of cheered up a little bit, so we're literally just going to go up here an hour or so. A very good chance to test the situation out with the accelerator, because we had those weird little squealing noises coming from there. This is the first outing now with our Titan boat canopy covers fully erected. We have had them up, but we haven't had all the windows in. So let's see if we're still encountering these problems with the engine. We are literally about 3 days in now, and we're already having big problems on this off-grid trip. I can hardly see out the front, dude. It's a little bit misty. Recommendations? Roll it up. Roll it up. Nice clear vision, but we've still got the sides on. I mean, Crowbot are just complete show-offs at this point, aren't we? We've got our lovely new Titan pram and crutch covers on the narrowboat. What better opportunity to show them off to you guys? We've never had a pram cover on the narrowboat, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how it is cruising with one on. There's going to be pros and cons, isn't there? Let's face it. So it acts as an extra room on the narrowboat. When the sun's out, it acts as a gazebo. When it's raining, it acts as a sort of hood. It can be a little bit clumpy, but we love our clump. It comes down in literally 5 seconds in case you're coming up to a bridge, so the pros seem to outweigh the cons by a long stretch. Head over to chat to the lovely guys at Titan Boat Canopies, link in the description. Guess what? I've snuck up to the front of the boat, where I'm just being taken on a lovely little cruise from the lovely Bex. So let's pull into this lovely little mooring spot on the right here. We're in Hemmingford Grey, and give you guys the lowdown of the engine. And another thing to bear in mind is this area on the right here was completely underwater in the next 2 days.
Well, I heard no squeal, so that's a good first sign.
So I think we're okay here for one night, but seeing that all this water is gushing down from the system from Bedford, we're probably going to want to move it onto a safer mooring. 7:20, she's running the motor. Got frozen food in the freezer that she's built up over the last months that she's terrified will die.
Delicious, succulent, sweet curd turkey.
Crowbot are in town. It's nothing to do with me. Alright, it's Bex. And little frozen cutlets. Every few hours since we've been stationary, she's been running the engine to save her meat selection that she's built up in the freezer.
Sounds well dodgy.
What's your excuse?
What?
The engine's running again. Curfew's 8, I think, in a narrowboating sort of thing with an old Jenny. We've got it going at 7:20. Every 2 hours we're starting up the engine to save like a couple of cutlets that we've got stored in the freezer. And we're going to have to pick up a load more diesel in the next few days because it's really running low now.
He's such a drama queen, that's not the truth.
Can you imagine it'd be 3:30 in the morning and the engine starts? Save the cutlets. So fingers crossed we can move the narrowboat in the morning before this flooding reaches us. So we've just woken up. We've had a weather warning, guys. You couldn't make this stuff up. We've got to move the narrowboat now because they've opened a few of the locks up where the marina is, and now all the water's flooding down. So currently in St Neots, water is gushing down from the burst banks up in Bedford. They've opened the locks up here. There is absolutely no way we can go back now. I mean, I'm not even sure we can do any more cruising for the time being. You can't make this up, guys. Overnight, the river flow has increased dramatically, and we're also very worried now that the water levels are going to rise here, and they did. So we need a more permanent mooring, really. These pins just won't hold up. I mean, check this out, guys. You can see how fast it's already going, and this is just stage 1. Stage 1. Is that even a term? Thankfully, there's a lovely little juicy mooring spot just up here on the right. The boat is struggling a bit because of the flow pushing up against it. Luckily, that's Bex's problem. My problem's going to be to try and rope up the narrowboat. Again, is that a term, rope up? Onto these permanent mooring pins up here. Again, is it a permanent mooring pin? I don't know. That's what we're calling it all. You're also going to see how fast the narrowboat's coming in now. And that's because of the river flow pushing up against us. It is a pretty stressful life, guys. You can also see now how there's a nice little bit of room here now if the water does decide to rise. So a pretty successful emergency moor up. So we woke up in the morning and we had a whole ton of text messages from friends at the marina saying that there was a weather warning. That led us on to going onto the internet and realising that strong weather is coming. And that obviously affects the rivers and the river flow. And again, once again, Bedford are to blame.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Because they've opened all the locks up there because there's flooding again up that direction. So that means that river flow is coming down, and now they've decided to open the lock by our marina, so that will further let the water come down and even out a little bit. But obviously we're upstream even more, so that's going to affect us by the strong river current that's coming down, and potentially also the river rising. So we thought we'd move it up a little bit. We've got some better mooring pins here, the sort of permanent mooring pins. Do they call these permanent mooring pins? I don't know. I think it's probably quite a good analysis. Bex has got the engine blaring again to save those turkey steaks. Haven't you, Bex? Obviously the batteries are sort of not fully functional. They sort of work a little bit, but not perfectly for an off-grid environment. And we've got to run the engine if we're not cruising for the day to keep those turkey steaks frozen for Bex. Watch this space. Watch the story conclude. Will they defrost or will they stay nice and frozen? To be continued. What have you got to say for yourself? Just telling them all about your fear of the turkey steaks sort of defrosting.
This has still got a landlubber kind of mentality where he thinks that power is just continuously supplied to you, and that you don't ever have to charge your batteries because they're just endless. So yeah, I keep trying to teach him, but he keeps complaining about the sound of the engine. I don't know what's worse, having to deal with defrosted turkey steaks or having to listen to him.
Whoa! I've heard that a lot of people, with having a fridge on a narrowboat, sort of turn it off to certain times of the day or even the year.
In the winter.
Because it uses up so much energy.
I think that fridge is really, really good. Like, this has been a good test of that. I don't think it draws an enormous amount of power, which for a fridge and freezer is pretty good. But obviously, like I say, because we're not travelling much at the minute, the batteries aren't getting charged up again, so you just have to run the engine a bit to top them up now and again to allow you, and that's the point, the fridge isn't even on.
Not even on, guys. It's quite a loud noise when you're on the narrowboat. I think most narrowboats are like this, just because it's a giant steel tube and it's all vibrating, so it's similar sensations to what it's like on an aeroplane before it's taken off. Except we're just freezing turkey steaks. Show them the turkey steaks, there they are. So our cruising plans have now come to a hold. We're going to be stranded here for quite a while, well, at least until the water has flushed through the system. I mean, look how fast it's going. Everything is fleeing Bedford, guys. Bedford's not that bad, is it? I haven't really got it in for Bedford. Got it in for the water in Bedford. So we've noticed there's a little lip here at the mooring space. You see, we were worried that the narrowboat could wedge itself in there, and if the water levels rise, it will get stuck in there. So we've got a purpose for these great little go-kart tyres that were dropped off to us about a year ago. So we've got one lovely go-kart tyre there, wedged up against the side, one there, and one over here wedged up against the side. Big shout out to Gary that dropped those off to us about 2 years ago. So our off-grid setup here, let's just show you guys the state of the narrowboat at the moment. We're in the back room, the snoring room. You can't do anything in here. You can't even snore because there's nowhere to sleep. The bathroom. We brought our solar panels that we were hoping to possibly use to recharge our big power boxes. We're down to about 70% on the first one. We've been doing phones, laptops, so far so good. Titan is currently using the toilet. Bedrooms, just like you remember it. Ballast haunts the Whistling Wombat. It's absolutely everywhere. We've got it on the side here. We've got a whole load under the bed. Bex actually said the other day, I think we should start getting rid of the ballast, believe it or not. Here she is, the Afri, coming in very, very useful on our nomadic off-grid journey on minimal narrowboaty off-griddy electronics. What's going on, Bex?
I'm waxing my armpits.
Oh.
Needs must and all that jazz. You ladies know what I want about.
Right, so we'll leave you in there waxing your armpits. You see it all here at Planet Crowbots. You see us having showers. You see us waxing armpits. Who knows, next time you might see me waxing my ballsack. We're not gonna... No, we're not going to go there. A new day in our new permanent mooring spots. These are 24-hour moorings, but the EA advise you strongly not to move while we're going through a crisis like this. I mean, look how fast it's flowing today, and this is just the beginning.
I spotted a little nice foraging patch, so I said to Chris, do you want to come up for a walk with me? I've got my little bag so we can go and collect some tasty berries.
Pick along with Crowbot. Innit? Find a bush in your back garden, put your iPad in the garden and pick along with Bex. Welcome to Crowbot as a survival YouTube channel. This wasn't submerged in water yesterday. We haven't had any marigolds for a while on the vlogs, have we? We need to bring them back.
What are you talking about? You're wearing a massive marigold right now, aren't you?
Giant
body marigold.
It's catching on now, isn't it? It's gone too far.
His obsession has gotten just too dark now. He's like, he's gone into the realms of full body marigold coverage. So for any big tree geeks like me, this is a yew tree. And you often see them actually in churchyards and stuff. They're really ancient trees, and once upon a time people believed that they were portals to other dimensions and stuff, which is a really cool kind of story about them. They have the most delicious berries on them. However, the seed in the middle of the berry is highly poisonous. The flesh around the outside's fine, but if you bite into that seed, you're probably going to be a goner. I think they used that storyline a few times in like Midsummer Murders and stuff like that. One way to identify them is that they have really kind of gnarly trunks. The bark on them is all kind of flaky, and there's lots of kind of undulations and stuff like that. So they're beautiful trees, and they're really, really old.
If we jump in it, do we portal back to the marina?
It's the seat that you sit in, and then...
You guys thought I was the mad one.
So, another nerdy fact from Becca. This is a holly bush, and as you can see, this leaf has perfectly straight edges. This one has its characteristic spikes. Now, actually what happens with the holly bush is when it feels like it's coming under attack, it sends a load of energy towards its leaves to start growing spikes on it, so stuff won't eat it, basically. So there's more to plants than you think.
I mean, she could just be making all this up, as far as we know. A strawberry isn't actually a berry. Oh, hang on. A peanut isn't a nut.
It's a legume.
Oh, you're clever, man. A donut is not a nut.
It's a delicious bakery item.
The hunt is on. Let the scavenging begin. Off-grid survival.
This will keep us going for days. We can each nibble one little round section of the berry per day to keep us going. Woohoo! Gotta leave some for the birds though, that's important.
You are the bird.
So from a patch that you're foraging from, take no more than about 10% in order to keep the balance.
Well, back there you took 100% where there were only 3.
When I was a kid, this was like a guaranteed summer-autumn activity. You go out, you pick your blackberries, or you pick other things as well. Blackberries is always quite an easy one because they're always accessible, easy to identify. You're not likely to eat a deadly berry by accident. So I just think it's a really lovely thing to do. And these will taste a billion times nicer than a punnet that you get in a supermarket that's been grown in some like unnatural conditions.
The nicest way of stealing something, I suppose.
What do we go and do? Choose the 1 week where the river's like within an inch of bursting its banks and we get stuck. Like not being able to navigate the system.
Well, news just in, the banks have burst in Bedford.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they'd actually burst now.
We're not normal narrowboaters, are we?
We're getting right into the depths of the flooding, this time not from land, but from the middle of it in the boat.
Hello. Where do you think his eggs are kept? Would you guys attempt this on your narrowboats? It's probably not that bad if you know what you're doing, but water does have its way, especially with me, as you guys all know. So you can tell, guys, how far the water has risen. This tyre's completely up now, and these 2 little baby ones at the back, you can completely see them now. So it's come up a couple of feet, definitely. That was what we were worrying about over here. This is as safe as it's going to get, I think, because at the moment it's not too bad. But down that way, it's meant near Bedford way, it's really, really bad.
I'm putting some of my foraged blackberries to use this morning, and I've whacked some in my porridge.
Something tells me we're going to be stranded here for a very long time, guys. A lot of the water coming down is still days behind us. It's going to be incredibly testing on the setup we have on the Narrowboat. Welcome to Crowbot as a survival narrowboat channel.